Hello everyone, my name is Jerry Garcia and I will be presenting on the phylum Bryozoa, also known as Ectoprocta. Here's the brief outline of the bryozoan. We will be talking about what they are, what habitats they live in, what their body plan is, their feeding and digestion processes, their circulation gas exchange and excretion processes, and how they reproduce. What are bryozoans? They are part of a unique group called Lophophoridates, which means they're an organism that possess a fan of ciliated tentacles around their mouth. Their name in Greek means moss animal, and their other name, Ectoprocta, means outside anus in Greek. A bryozoan is actually a colony of tiny individuals named zooids. There are approximately 5,000 species of bryozoan. Most species live in marine habitats, but less than 90 of them live in freshwater habitats. Bryozoans have been around since the early Ordovician period, or 485 million years ago. Bryozoans mainly live in two habitats, the ocean and in freshwater. Ocean bryozoans are able to pull calcium from the water around them in order to make calcified exoskeletons. These exoskeletons are useful for the high shore environment, while freshwater bryozoans make gelatinous or chitinous exoskeletons because it's not as dangerous as ocean environments. Next up, we got the body plan of the bryozoan. On a macro level, they are asymmetrical, and this depends on water being passed around them or in them. They are round, twig-shaped, fanned, or sheeted, depending on the species of bryozoan. This is the level where you're able to touch and feel the animal without feeling the individuals within the colony. On a micro level, we have the individual within the colony known as the zooid. The zooid possesses the lophophore, which has the tentacles lined with cilia that I mentioned earlier. Each zooid has a cyst that is their inner body wall. This inner body wall has the epidermis that excretes their zoichium or their exoskeleton. The funiculus is a network that has connected to the stomach of the zooid that lines the inside of the cyst in order to transport nutrients. Depending on the species, the funiculus goes through a pore within the zoichium that leads to other zooids that connect that then connect to their stomachs. This allows the zooids to share food with amongst each other. Next, I'll go to the feeding and digestion of the bryozoans. The zooids are suspension feeders, which means they're able to take in any food particle around them. The cilia on their tentacle beat to create a central current that leads directly into their mouth. If they're a larger prey item, they wrap their tentacles around the organism and pull it into their mouth. As I play a video, you would be able to see yellow food particles fly into the cardia, which is a valve that is able to open and close to let food from the mouth into the pharynx, which is basically the throat, and into the stomach. The stomach is U-shaped. The stomach is in this shape because food comes in one way and gets digested, and then is able to go out through the other way, which makes a U. And this other way leads to the sphincter, which controls the food coming, uh, which controls the food staying in the stomach without leading directly into the anus. I will now play a video of the zooids feeding on food particles. You're able to see the food particles enter the cardia, which is the little pouch that leads to the pharynx, which is basically the throat. You're able to see them flick the particles into the cardia. This is a zooid that's coming out of the cyst. And if you're able to see the cilia on the lophophore, they're able to create a central, or you're able to see that central a column of water that leads directly into their mouth. You're able to see it clearly here, where the zooid comes out of the cyst, and this little pellet is the fecal matter coming out of the anus. And once that pellet gets to the central current, you're able to see it get pulled in and eject it out. Next, we'll take a look at the circulation, gas exchange, and excretion of the zooid. They do not have a respiratory or intercirculatory system. Oxygen from the liquid around them diffuses across their body since they're so small. The coalmic fluid within them will passively transport waste and nutrients to different regions of the body. As mentioned before, the digestive tract is a U shape, which means that the stomach directly connects to the anus, and the anus leads or goes towards the head of the zooid. Most of the time, zooids are able to digest their food, but sometimes they leave what's called brown bodies, which is undigested waste material that gets stuck to the gut of their, or gets stuck to the lining of the stomach. In some species, these brown bodies stay within the previous zooid, and once a new zooid buds from that, it's able to or not move that brown body anywhere, which means you could you could tell the age of a zooid by how many brown bodies there are, since it's not able to get rid of it. Now for reproduction, they are able to reproduce asexually and sexually. For asexual reproduction, they could bud off from each other and create a clone to add onto the colony. And in freshwater bryozoans, they have sotoblasts, which are seeds that could resist freezing and high temperatures in order for a new season to come for a bryozoan embryo to emerge and continue budding. This budding will lead to a new colony. For sexual reproduction, zooids have both gonads and ovaries. This makes them hermaphrodites, and when they are starting to reproduce sexually, they will accumulate sperm in the coelom and have the sperm leave through the lophophores. The sperm will end up getting sucked into central currents of other zooids and impregnate those zooids. Once the egg has gestated, the egg will leave the zooid and hatch to become a swimming larvae. That swimming larvae will then swim to a nearby substrate and attach to it and become a new zooid to continue budding and become a new colony. Now for some questions. The first question is, how do bryozoans feed? The second question is, how do zooids help each other? I'll reveal the answer shortly. For the first question, the answer is D. For the second question, the answer is A. Thank you for listening to my presentation.